shows with more reps for him.
Yeah, the wide receiver position is interesting. Mr. Perez drops a good comment. The Eagles were, I did see this. The Eagles were named the best fit for free agent wide receiver Hunter Renfrow. What's your thoughts on this, Xander and John? I don't know. I mean, he's a slot guy, right? He's a true slot receiver, so he's going to be your slot wide receiver. It doesn't really fix your depth on the outside problem. Maybe John Ross can be that, but I don't know. I mean, I think I'd prefer to add depth to that outside room just because I think you will probably see Kellen lining up these star receivers, Devontae and AJ, in the slot at times and moving them all around, especially with the motion and stuff like that. So, John, what do you think of Hunter Renfrow?
Well, you're right. He's a pure slot guy, and I prefer to add somebody outside the numbers as a backup from that perspective. But he's probably better than Paris Campbell, not probably. Now, he had 100 reception season back in 2021, and it hasn't been great since then. Only had 25 receptions last year, so how much is left, I don't know. But he is a pure slot receiver. I don't think that's what the Eagles need dramatically because kind of what you said in that AJ and Devontae are so versatile. They can play X, they can play Z, they can play flex, they can play, which is the slot position. They can do all three. A lot of receivers can't do that. And they're outside guys or they're slot guys. They have the luxury of being able to move those players around. And AJ was in the slot, as Dave pointed out. Devontae will be in the slot at times. There's no question about that. So I think the bigger need is a backup outside receiver than a slot guy. But at the same time, Renfrow to me is a far better slot receiver than Paris Campbell. So, if you want to go about it that way and say, well, we just want a better slot receiver.
Right.
But money factors into it as well. Paris is playing for $1.3 million a year. He looked pretty good last week in the first practice too. So I'm not sure the Eagles are going to cut bait so quickly on the Paris Campbell path. So yeah, I mean, if you just look at it as they need a receiver, and Renfrow's been a pretty good receiver. That's why you see some of these best bid stories, but they don't factor in slots and roles and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, he would make that slot receiver better, but he doesn't add what they probably need the most to add, which is depth on the outside. And coming up later in hour number 1, Johnny Mac and I are going to do the position groups on the Eagles, strength or weakness. I was asked a question about the wide receivers, and I'm like, strength. We got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, and Big Sales points out we got 6 wide receivers on the team. Only 2 of them are even competent.